Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton for Scoop Talk. We're here at Apex 2017. I'm joined by three gentlemen to discuss the topic and the importance of supply chain, and actually supply chain as a competitive advantage. We have Akhil here from Omnix, who are a software and service provider, Mark Goodwin from Ventec Laminates, who are actually a supplier and a distributor, so a big chunk of the supply chain, and Dennis here from Kimball, who are in various different parts of the supply chain. Maybe I'll start with you, Dennis. What are the challenges that you're finding in your downstream supply chain that you need to have improved by your suppliers?
Yeah, what we're seeing is we need to have more traceability. The expectations of traceability from us are, components onto boards, through all the processes and the interlocks before getting a product out. But in many cases, we're finding that we need traceability further. What laminates were used, what silicon was used into each of these parts, and how do we get that traceability to go further down into the supply chain so that we can, quickly assess if there's an issue or something coming on.
And that supply chain visibility or that supply chain traceability, that's down to an individual board level, not just a batch level.
Right, down to individual board, right down to components, and now our customers are even looking, what's the next step? What were some of the subcomponents that came into that, IC, and what's the traceability? How do we know where that came from as it goes and rolls up into the finished product?
Yeah, I spoke to an EMS earlier, and they were saying one of their customers asked them for the oven profile for a particular batch of boards, but they were able to deliver the oven profile for every individual board, and that's the level of traceability that people are finding acceptable at the moment. Mark, from your point of view, when you are, if you like, the raw material manufacturer in Asia, and then you are the distribution channel right to the customer's door in all those different regions, that's quite a complex supply chain to manage. What are the challenges you have and the kind of benefit you bring by having all those bits together?
The first benefit is supply chain security, and that's in terms of making sure the product moves through the supply chain in a controlled manner, because we control the whole supply chain. We don't use third-party distributors. But also supply chain integrity. There aren't several different manufacturers' materials going into our supply chain, so it's all Ventec product. The challenges for us, though, are our products are made in bulk formats, so big sheets of laminate, rolls of pre-preg. They're then delivered to our customers, sometimes in sheets, sometimes in panels, and then those panels are manufactured into circuit boards that are sometimes delivered as panels of circuit boards, sometimes broken out into individual PCBs. So we can provide lot traceability very, very easily. We do that already. We have a lot number. We're already starting increasingly to mark every sheet of material, whether it's in a big sheet format or a panel format, with a laser mark code. That can be a barcode or a human readable code, whichever people want. But after that, it can go into so many different formats. Even if if a customer specified to us what to mark, where do you mark it on the panel? Because how's that panel going to be cut up? And that's a real challenge. And we've got some ideas on this using RFID and things like that. But it's how to place them and where to place them and what part in the process. There's a lot of discussion, but we haven't really found the perfect solution yet. I'm sure.
And you will find it, because actually what I think, if I look at that, is you're going to need to connect right back to the design on there, because you're going to need to see what part of that panel is available and where you can.
Absolutely, but one thing's for sure, this is where owning our own supply chain becomes really important, because we're not going to be able to put that in at the point of manufacture, because we're bulk manufacturing. It's going to have to go in at the point of fabrication. And at least if that's all being done by the one supply chain and the one under one umbrella, there's a chance. There's a chance,
and the data can flow. Akhil, from your point of view, it's all about data in the supply chain. You've been working in the supply chain, developing software and data solutions for a long, long time, and in your current role, you're looking at how that data can be used as a competitive advantage all the way through the business, right back to the quote stage. Tell me a bit about how that works.
I think, Phil, what we have seen is that companies are having three major challenges when it comes to supply chain decision making, when specifically the data. One is what we call as the information or data latency. the data exists, but getting the data out in a meaningful form, that's where the challenges are. Secondly is visualization or having dashboards does not mean you are getting the insights, right? How do you really connect the dots smartly? What is the implication of a particular data input to the others, then the output that is going to be for the supply chain? And thirdly, all this can be done whether we use internal help, external software tools, but still the tools and the solutions and the resources available out there are cost and time prohibitive.
Right.
I mean, I was in the past where we could do all this analysis, but it used to take weeks.
Yeah.
Now we cannot wait for that. You need it in minutes and hours. So the question is, how do we take care of these three elements, of which are the major challenging points for supply chain decision making for most companies? And whether we look at it, I think where we come from is the Omnics part of it was where there is a certain framework of how we approach these particular cases or the use cases. And then the second part is, once the framework is set, then using technology, software technology, to enable and to do this much faster, a lot more efficient.
Yeah, and we talked in the past a little bit, Akhil, about how you can use that data as a competitive advantage, not just in your ability to deliver better, but your ability to actually get that front end right, get the quote built right, get the data ready to start at the very beginning. Is that something that you're finding in the short life of Omnics is resonating with customers?
It's very much right now. I mean, we have few customers already signed up, which we are seeing as a feedback that we are getting for the platform that we are developing is, how can this be done quickly, not just from a strategic perspective, but also down to the quoting level.
Yeah.
For example, when we go through all the quotes and all the analysis, once that particular project or that particular deal is done, that data is discarded.
Yeah.
And data is so valuable. 95% of the cases discarded. How can we leverage that for the next subsequent analysis?
And build some analysis in there that will learn from it, so the next instance
correct.
is more intelligent. From your point of view, Dennis, when you look at that and you look at all that data available and supply chain design, is it something you feel within your organization you use to separate you from all the Me Too companies you're competing with?
Yeah, we use a lot of data analytics, as you mentioned, like from the quotes and discarding of the old information. Several years ago we did a quote and it kind of stood by itself. Now, large databases of that, we look at it to assess, where did we win, and on particular type of items, where didn't we win, and why is that? What did we miss? What did we do different in the way in which we approach the manufacture, the building of the quote, even at that early stage, that allowed us to be able to win new opportunities and bring them in house? Versus where did we maybe we didn't win this one. Was there anything we did different? We can go back and look at the history and put that together and say, okay, yeah, we definitely approach this slightly different than we did previously, and now we need to reshift our thinking around that data and position ourselves better for those opportunities.
Yeah, I think we went through a stage of just collecting data for a few years, and that was the early part of this whole IOM industry 4.0 thing. Let's get as much data as we can, and then let's get as many dashboards as we can, but we still need to get to that stage of turning that into some kind of learning solution to move forward. So from your point of view, Mark, when you're bringing all these different elements together, what about risk mitigation? There's been a lot of volatility in your market, for example, with raw material.
Yeah.
Does owning the supply chain allow you to get to that earlier? Does it allow you to soften the blow to your customers?
Everybody's aware of the difficulties in the laminate supply chain at the moment, copper foil shortages, glass shortages. Through not dealing through a distributor, we know exactly what's going on. So we're connected to the customer on one end, we're connected to the raw material suppliers on the other end. One of the things I've noticed in the US on this trip is there's a disconnect between the customers and really what's happening in the supply chain.
But downstream.
Yeah. I mean, the raw material shortages are all in Asia.
Right.
Either some people don't know here, or they're deliberately ignoring it or nervous to talk to their customers about it. We take the view that it's responsible to talk to our customers, and we also really know what's going on, so we can talk to them from a position of authority. Interesting, I was just listening very carefully there to the databases and the information that's building up, and not for any of the reasons that are discussed here, but we now manage all of our lot manufacturing data, so our own test data from things we've manufactured, but also including all the raw material data in that in a database format. So when we do get to the point of working out where to put the markers of some kind on, we should just be able to scan this and go straight back and get all that historic data. And the other point is increasingly laminates are providing some of the functionality in the end products. I mean, a couple of key areas is in high-speed digital, where the products don't work if they're not the right laminates with the right resin content, with the right copper foil. The metal back business, where the thermal conductivity is integral to the longer lifespans people are looking to get from LED products. You know, and these are all areas where it's very easy to make material substitutions. So
for things to go wrong.
That's where our end customers are really looking to. Is how do we know? You know, what's that traceability back to that laminate material, and that especially in the LED. You know, where you can substitute in the different materials, and then if you don't know that, and all of a sudden you're outside of your specs on the product.
And field failures come, and you know, and it's a real value proposition with LED. You know, I mean, it's you swap. You make a capex investment to gain a long-term financial advantage. Well, if you make that capex investment and you don't get the long-term thermal advantage, it's a long-term financial advantage. It's a problem.
It's a big problem. So it's interesting, Akhil. I'm going to ask you the last question, and that's about how far down the supply chain you go. I suspect that Mark's company probably supplies Dennis's company, but not directly. So there are PCB manufacturers. How far through the different levels of supply chain, up and down, do you need to go to actually do a good job of defining the supply chain data? All of it, you're going to say.
I wish I had the answer, perfect answer, but there is no perfect answer in here. I think it comes down to what's your business strategy, and based on the business strategy, what's your supply chain strategy. Now, when you look at your supply chain strategy, depending on which pieces of that link are crucial. I mean, it can go all the way down to the mines. No, probably not. You don't want to get down there. But there are parts which are well run, which are, you know, just like a well-oiled machine just cranking through. And then there are pieces as it gets complex, as you go downstream. That's where you need to really get in, because you don't really want to get down into managing everything. You want to manage by exceptions, right? There are certain elements of that supply chain which need a lot more focus than the others. So could it go down to a second tier, third tier supply chain? Yes, probably in some cases, but not the entire bill of materials, I would say.
It's
conflict minerals today. You know, we do need to get all the way down to the smelter, and that for reporting purposes. So you know, that traceability. You know, all the way down to the smelter. So
it's interesting, and I think what's also interesting, which I found has changed in the last couple of years, is we used to talk about high reliability markets that demanded traceability, like Milero, like medical, like automotive. I look at guys like you and I think, why would you do that? You've got to do it everywhere.
We do it everywhere. Kimbo traceabilities on all of our products. Standard coming in the door, we trace, you know, all the way down to the component level.
So it's got to be defined at that level. Guys, thanks very much for your time. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of the show.